Marvellous. Do we think Gem's going to start barking again, or should we just plough on through?
All adds to the ambience if she does.
As if on cue, we get a bark in the background. What a great dog. Love you, Gem. This is Trainer Talk, the podcast, brought to you by Sharon Gaskin of the Trainers Training Company and me, Jeanette Tessier of the Get That Gang. In our weekly show, we cover news and views from our businesses, along with a top-of-mind topic. Of course, it wouldn't be Trainer Talk, the podcast, without the Dog Walking Digest, and every now and again we invite a guest along to share their experience and expertise. After 90 episodes of just audio, we're now on YouTube as well. So feel free to catch up there. Just search for the Trainers Training Company or the Get That Gang, or download us on audio only through your favourite podcast streamer. So why not sit back with a cuppa, make that journey or chore go a little bit quicker with our weekly inspiration for developing your training business. Welcome. This is Trainer Talk, the podcast, and we are at episode number 95. After this one, only 5 more to our centenary, Sharon. Do you think we'll get a telegram from the Queen? I shouldn't think so. Anyway.
You never know.
We've got this one and another 5 to do before we get anywhere close. So how are you? How was your week last week?
My week was okay. It's been... What's been happening? It's been cold, hasn't it? Oh, my God.
chilly wind, for sure. Very cold.
Absolutely freezing cold. This weekend was unbelievable. I'm pretty hardy, but honestly, I literally didn't go out at all this weekend because particularly on Saturday, it was -7, I believe, outside. And it was like a howling 50-mile-an-hour gale, and I absolutely know what they mean now when they say a howling gale, because God did it howl up here at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
And literally we had ice on the outside of the kitchen windows.
Wow. Proper cold.
So yes, it wasn't great to celebrate our first year in Wales.
Yeah. It's been, what an odd year it's been, for sure.
That's putting it mildly, isn't it?
Yeah.
It mildly, you
know. I know. But I mean, yes, obviously it's been an odd year for everybody, but particularly when you sort of, move into a new place with all these plans for all the things you're going to go out and visit. 3? Well, it's been probably 6 weeks before. No, actually, did you lock down earlier in Wales?
Yeah, it was 3 weeks. We had 3 normal weeks.
Yeah.
3 normal weeks.
Which, when you've just moved to a new place, let alone a new country like you did, 3 weeks is nothing really, because you're still kind of in the whirlwind of, what have we done? Where is the tea bags? All that kind of.
Yeah. I know. And just really kind of finding your feet with where everything is and all that kind of stuff, and wanting to explore and doing all that stuff. And it's been so weird. I just keep describing it as kind of being here but not here. It's that's how it feels. Of course I haven't been anywhere else either. I've not been able to go back to see anybody. You've not had any visitors here apart from obviously Amy and Ryan at Christmas, but no friends to stay, or it's just been very, very strange. Very strange. Very frustrating, but it is what it is.
Absolutely. As long as it's not the same by next February, we'll be fine.
It'll be fine, definitely be a lot better.
So apart from it being your anniversary of moving to the land of daffodils, what else has happened last week?
What else has happened? Well, it's been the Australian Open. I have managed to see some of it this week.
Well done.
Not a huge amount, but managed to tune into one of Rafa's matches, I think. I didn't see the one today because it was in the middle of the night, so I didn't see that one. But very weird, because it started off with crowds there, which I didn't agree with because I thought they were absolutely bonkers, but it started off with crowds there. And they had this most bizarre situation where they found another case in Melbourne, so they literally had to lock the whole city down for another 5 days. But it came into force at like 12 o'clock on the stroke of midnight. So right in the middle of one of the matches, they basically said, oh, right, everyone, just get out the stadium.
Oh, my goodness.
Most bizarre thing.
That's really weird.
Yeah, so they've gone from having crowds and it feeling like sort of relatively normal to everybody going out and the players restarting the match to a completely empty stadium.
How odd. That's I mean, did they not? I know they do it quickly, right? So they found in New Zealand, in Auckland, they found a
Yeah.
family of 3 have just been diagnosed with COVID. So they've shut the whole of Auckland down for 3 days, and they did that really, really quickly. I get that they've done it very quickly over there, but surely they knew before the match started that this lockdown was coming into effect.
I don't know. Who knows? But it's just really, really weird, just having everything just literally and everybody having to leave.
Very
and
odd.
And then I was literally watching Rafa's match. It was Saturday morning I was watching it, and it was the most bizarre thing, just like total silence, pretty much.
Yeah, well, it must be weird for the players as well. I mean, particularly the top flight ones who are used to having big crowds, and I mean, they say, don't they, that the crowd has got to be worth an extra point per game for somebody, when the crowd is really behind them. So yeah, that must be very bizarre.
It's just very bizarre indeed. But no, so I managed to see a little bit of that, and most annoyed because Djokovic did his normal thing about having an injury and claiming, come back from the day. Ryan sent me a message going, various expletives, Djokovic, and apparently he said, I don't think I'm even going to play the next round. I've heard that before. It's like,
exactly.
Whatever. It's so annoying.
I know. I mean, I get that there is a level of sort of, this kind of, they call it gamesmanship, don't they? I'm not sure it is gamesmanship. I think it's bordering on cheating when they're doing it to try and get the psychological advantage, aren't they? Which I understand. I don't know that I necessarily agree with, but then I'm not a top flight athlete either. Although we were just talking about how both of us are feeling quite smug about our gym, if not attendance, our gym work that we've been doing at home at the moment, right?
Yeah, shall we start our smug fest? Because I think that's exactly what it is. What we're going to
It's true, and we'll do we apologise in advance? I don't know that we do. We are feeling quite smug about the amount of gym work that we've both been doing at home, whilst our respective gyms have been closed. And really, I'm really quite proud of myself for keeping it going. And January wasn't good. I mean, I did a few bits, but not much. But this month, I've really kind of knuckled down and told myself, no, you must do at least 3 times a week. And I've ended up doing sort of 4 really a week, and proper full-on sessions. We've got this, I was telling you, wasn't I, we've got this challenge at the gym where every letter of the alphabet has been assigned a different set of exercises. So it could be 100 jumping jacks or a 60-second plank. There's a 2-minute plank in there as well, which I've had to do a couple of times now. One of them, X, if anybody's got an X in their name, that's 100 burpees. That's fun.
My favourite.
Well, that was yesterday. That was the gym owner's present. He picked out the lovely Abby Lee LaRue, who's got an X at the end of her name, as his Valentine's gift to us all. There you go, have 100 burpees. Except nobody noticed until we started going through it all that B is also 20 burpees. So that ended up being 140 burpees, which was nice on Valentine's Day. And then just as I'd finished, because I was up at Mum's, and they were on Zoom in the morning doing the church service and what have you, and they came down, and Mum came down just as I'd finished, and I was sort of standing there completely drenched in sweat and bright red and all the rest of it, and she said, oh my goodness, what was your workout? So I was just going through and explaining the challenge, and I said, and then it was 20 burpees, and then what's a burpee, she says. So I'm like, don't make me do it again. She said, well, I don't know what it is. So I had to do another burpee just to show her what a blooming burpee was. God. So 141 burpees yesterday.
The last time I did 125 burpees at the gym as part of it, that was just a part of the set. It was 125 burpees. I ended up crying, and Dean bought me a bottle of wine the next day.
I remember you talking about that. It's cruel. It is a killer, an absolute killer. It really is. I mean, I understand why it's a gym instructor's favourite, because it is an all-body
because they just stand there watching you.
Yeah. But it is a very good exercise to work every muscle in your body. I understand that. I absolutely do. Doesn't make me like them anymore. But yeah, so that was fun yesterday. But you've been doing all your workouts. You've been getting back into your yoga, haven't you?
getting back to my yoga, yeah, because like my gym workouts are like I do them like 4 times a week, and I literally I used to do 30 days of yoga with Adrienne on YouTube religiously every day for about 3 or 4 years. This was kind of like pre-gym, and then when I started going to the gym, which was about 2.5 years ago, I stopped doing it because I was like, oh, I don't need this now because I'm going to put myself through these other horrible things in the gym, so I don't need the yoga. But I decided that it's been nagging away at me. I was like, I must get back into that. I think because I was doing something with Lindsay on Pilates, and we were doing some balance exercises, and I was absolutely shocking. And I thought, this is because I'm out of practice of this, because before it didn't used to bother me. So I thought, right, need to get back on.
Can you make that sound on your microphone again?
Sorry. Get back on, which I did, and so started I think on the 1st of February. So I've been doing it, the 30 days every day. So I've been doing that too. So I've been doing exercise every single day, 7 days a week. So
smug face, definite smug face.
And I tell you what, when I first started doing yoga again, I was like, oh my God, I don't remember it being this hard.
I must admit that is the thing that has fallen by the wayside for me, because I was doing 2 yoga classes a week. So on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, I would do HIIT class at the gym, and then Tuesday and Thursday evenings I'd go along and do the yoga class. So I think it was power yoga on a Tuesday, which was just more dynamic exercises, and then normal yoga on a Thursday. And even though I'm not terribly flexible, but at the same time I would do it because I knew it was just making me incrementally better when I was doing it. But I haven't kept that up at home at all. But that's fine. I think part of the reason that I've been able to keep it going this time around is a little bit of stubbornness and determination, and no, I am going to do this to prove that I can. But also it's kind of not setting myself impossible targets and trying to recreate normality, whatever normality is, at home, because it's impossible to do that, and I think that's setting yourself up for failure, isn't it?
But the reasons I am keeping it going is because I am like that. I'm so blooming stubborn that I'm like, I'm not gonna not do it just because my trainer doesn't like doing Zoom.
I know, so odd.
So I will keep going, but also it's because I know that if I don't do anything really, then when I do go back to the gym, it's just going to be, it's going to be hard enough, but it's going to be 10 times harder if you don't do anything.
Completely.
So it's a bit of self-protection going on there.
Oh, I so hear you. Absolutely. Even, let me think, lockdown 1. So we didn't get back to the gym until probably July-ish, something like that. And I hadn't really done anything. Well, I think we started again in July, I think. I hadn't really done anything since the March. So I was pretty fit in the run up to it. Because I was obviously getting ready for ski season, my whole 1 day of skiing, and then 4 days of enforced self-development because there was nothing else to do. Until we got our flight home. But I didn't really keep up any proper gym work. Sporadically here and there doing something, but really nothing proper until we went back to the gym in July. And oh my goodness, did the DOMS set in particularly after the first boot camp. Really achy, and it took me probably, I would say, a good sort of 4 or 5 weeks to get back to a standard where I wasn't feeling like I was just sort of dragging a sack of potatoes around, because that hurt, that really hurt. And I remember thinking then, okay, I can't let this happen again. If we get locked down again, I have to keep going and do something. But of course, the second lockdown 2, when they closed the gym, that was when I twisted my ankle. So, I'm just going easy on myself. So anything is better than nothing, I think, is the message.
Is. I managed to keep it going throughout all of the lockdowns, but what I know, when I went back to the gym, which was the end of August, it was hard. It was even though I'd been doing stuff at home, it's still not quite the same, because you're not in, you're not on the rowing machine, you're not on the, the dreaded ski machine, you're not on whatever, and it's just not quite the same. And so when you do go, and the weights, I think I didn't have any weights at home then at all. And so when you go back into sort of lifting heavy weights and things and doing your squats, but you've got your, your heavy kettlebell or whatever, it's hard. It's a lot harder. So if you've done nothing, it's just like, oh no, I'm not gonna put myself through that. So I keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, definitely. It is. It's certainly an exercise in willpower and resilience, isn't it? And particularly when, you've got Lindsay, isn't it? Who's your old gym instructor.
My old gym trainer.
Who you can do classes with and what have you. So to a certain extent, you've got somebody that won't let you slack off in that. But I think, for me, it's more keeping myself in check, because there's nobody watching me. I could attend the online classes if the times were convenient, which they're not. I'm not getting up that early in the morning for anybody. But to sort of, get halfway through the set of exercises and just think, oh God, I wish I could stop now. And there's nothing to stop me stopping. I could still go into the Facebook group and go, yeah, I've done that exercise for today, and be lying about it, and nobody would know. So there is an element of sort of, willpower and stubbornness and resilience to it, and no, I'm going to keep on going, and I'm going to feel so much better, knowing that I have definitely done everything that's on the list to do. So I think we are allowed to have smug faces about this.
Yes,
nothing wrong with that at all.
Smug all round.
Absolutely. I think the other exciting thing last week was kicking off the delivery phase of the Complete Trainer, right?
Indeed, that was very exciting. So we finished with the marketing module and we started the delivery one, didn't we?
We did. Yes,
good
indeed.
Session on Friday, by the looks of it.
It was one of those things, because obviously it's a month-long module talking about delivery, and we are talking in the main about online delivery rather than face-to-face delivery, because we're kind of taking it as read that people who are trainers have some experience of being a trainer in a traditional sort of classroom type setting, so standing in front of people, but it's the online stuff that people have less experience at, even if they sort of did a virtual live delivery for the first time during COVID and all the rest of it. That's still relatively inexperienced compared to what they could have done, and very few people, even fewer people, have got experience of creating pre-recorded online courses. So that's kind of what we're concentrating on, is the online training aspect of things for people. And of course it's very difficult, even with an hour-and-a-half webinar, to sort of squeeze in everything that you need to squeeze in to be enough to get people going, not so much that it overwhelms them, but not giving the impression that, hey, this is everything you need to know. So it's a bit like you were saying with at the beginning of the marketing one, I can tell you a lot, but I can't tell you everything, and I certainly can't tell you everything in the space of an hour and a half. It's exactly the same from the delivery point of view. But everybody stuck with it. We had lots of good questions on there, so it was good, really, really good. We need to chase them up for their accountability buddies today, for sure.
We do. Yeah, we do. Good stuff. So that was our week, really. That was, just all the usual activity and work and mentoring clients. And there was a train sort of local on Friday in East Midlands with Karen Curitan, who did a sterling job as usual. That's our local. So that was brilliant. And I've still been on week 2 of the Fearless Living program with Michael Neal, and of course, and then something came into my inbox, and then he's like, oh yeah, I'm doing this new program in like whatever it is, like April. I was like, oh yeah, I love that one, thank you.
Press pay before you even know what it is.
Yeah, but the thing is because I told you, because he sent me that email before Christmas saying that I can get 30% off now because I'm one of his top 100 or whatever I am. So it's like brilliant. Why wouldn't you when you're getting all that money off?
Absolutely.
It's like,
and when you have faith in him as a trainer, which is effectively what he's doing for you, then absolutely, it becomes a no-brainer for you, doesn't it?
Well, it's kind of the stuff that he does. It's sort of like it's like a philosophy of life and a kind of philosophy of thinking. And it's kind of like, it's like the stuff, it's like a drip feed approach, you know. So the more you do, the more it just becomes cemented into your everyday thinking. There's a lot of the stuff, I'm sure a lot of the courses talk about the same kind of thing, maybe approach it sometimes as a different angle, but essentially it's a lot of the same stuff, but it's just that kind of drip that I find so useful, that I know if I just sort of stepped away from it, I'd probably just forget it all. You've just got to keep going and got to keep it in your consciousness. So just find it really useful.
So do you find yourself actually doing new things and creating new habits and you know, keeping things going through having all these different courses and that kind of thing?
Absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, particularly, I know we talked about this before, but certainly, you know, what has happened to me this year, well, you know, what happened to everybody, the COVID thing, but also happened to me personally with the whole move thing and what I've had to, you know, to go through the challenges. But I think I've coped a lot better, a lot better through, you know, learning this stuff and having all this stuff and practicing this stuff every day. And this stuff I'm doing like with Robert Holden and his wife with the Course in Miracles thing. Oh my God, you know, a lot of it is like, I don't even understand it. But apparently that's okay. Again, you just let it wash over you. Just do the lesson every day. You listen to it. And you just take this stuff on board, and it's like a kind of weird kind of osmosis. It just seeps in.
Absolutely.
It just seeps in, and then you suddenly realise, oh yeah, I'm kind of looking at that kind of thing differently. Maybe wouldn't have done before, and it's a weird sort of thing. So it's great. I've just got so woo woo this year, haven't I?
You really have. You really have. But I mean, you know, that's part of what makes our brains so brilliant, is the fact that, you know, we absorb so much more information into our brain that we are consciously aware of. And whether you talk about it being your unconscious or your subconscious or woo-woo or whatever it might be, your brain is processing all of this stuff and kind of filing it away for when it sees the pattern and you know, picks out the right bit for you to think about. And sometimes you get things straight away, and sometimes it does take this sort of drip effect, doesn't it? But I asked about, you know, are you actually putting things into action, because that leads really nicely onto our top of mind topic, doesn't it? Which is leading on from, I did my normal 2-minute tip video in the Get That Gang this morning. And I thought of this one as I was doing the dog walk this morning, which is, you know, it's a great thing to do first thing in the morning, even if the weather is miserable like it was yesterday. It was quite nice this morning, just to give myself that time to just sort of ease into the day and think about what it is I want to do, and also what I want to talk about. And I was thinking about this idea of, are we learning when we start a new course or read a new book or whatever it might be, or are we procrastinating? And, you know, apologies for that sort of mashup of two words there, but it accurately describes what I think we can fall into the trap of doing sometimes, which is buying the course or the book or doing the challenge or signing up to somebody's mailing list for a freebie or whatever it might be, because we think that's going to be the magic bullet that will make us start something that we need to do. And I think it is worth us identifying, are we doing that thing because it is genuinely going to give us an extra layer of learning, it's going to give us the opportunity to see something from a different perspective, or it's just because it gives us another way of looking at something that finally means some aspect of what we're learning about the penny drops, or, you know, we suddenly get a concept or something like that? Or are we doing it because actually secretly we don't really want to do the thing that we say we want to do? So we think that we just need another course, we just need another book, we just need another challenge or whatever it might be to trick us into doing this thing. So one of the things that I was talking to you about earlier when we were discussing this as a potential subject is this idea of confidence on camera. Right, so I've got a confidence on camera course. There are tons of confidence on camera courses out there. But it doesn't matter how many courses you take or how many webinars you see on the subject or how many books you read about it or blog articles or whatever it is, you will not get confident on camera until you get on camera. And then get on camera again, and then do it again and again and again and again and again until you've done it enough to get a level of confidence
Yeah.
on camera. And no
Yeah.
amount of courses can take that away from that, immovable fact. But people will take a course on it, then take another course on it, then take another, because they're procrastinating. Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it absolutely does. And I think really maybe something else that is at the heart of it, which again goes back to what I've been learning throughout my woo-woo journey, is that a lot of this stuff is essentially all part of the same problem.
Mhm.
And that problem is, what it boils down to a lot of the time is that people feeling that they're not good enough,
Yeah.
that they are not good enough. So they have to kind of, to help them through that, they think, oh, I just need to do another course. I just need to learn a bit more. When I've done that course, then I'll have that knowledge, or I'll have that confidence, and then I'll be good enough, and then I'll do this. But essentially, that's really what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not feeling that you are good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, it's really, really prevalent in the world today, that feeling of not being good enough, because we are surrounded by, social media. Take a look around you. It's kind of like it's all going on out there all day, every day. With the best will in the world, it's really hard not to compare ourselves to other people that we see, who we think are doing a better job. Or look at that, they're doing, go back to your video example, it's like, oh, look at them. They look so confident on camera, that all their makeup's all perfect, the lighting's great, and this and that, so if I come along and try and replicate that, I'm just not going to be as good. Therefore I'll just go and do another course to learn how to do it better.
Completely and absolutely. And somebody somewhere said something really, really brilliant, and I've heard it from a few people, and I have used it myself. So I'm unable to credit the person who originally came up with it, but it is genius. Whoever you are, should you be listening? It's this idea that when we look at people on social media, we end up comparing our insides to their outsides. So what we see is the front that they want us to see. They're not going to put out a video of them having just woken up with drool half down their face and hair all over the place and no makeup and all the rest of it, and go, all right, this is what I think about this thing. Well, I mean, some people might do that, but generally speaking, what you see on social media is the image that people want to project. It's not their insides. But the trouble is, because we live with ourselves, we know what our insides are doing, particularly the imposter syndrome that we've talked about before, which is saying, oh, you're not good enough, you're not as good as them. Comparisonitis, you and I have both talked about that previously. This idea that we see somebody else, and because we tell ourselves we can't be as good as what we see, then that stops us from doing what we need to do to get to the point where somebody else is looking at us going, oh, they're so good at that. A while back, probably not last year, maybe the year before, we were doing some kind of camera thing, and somebody was saying, oh, you're really good on camera to me. And somebody else, I think it was Kate Young in the community, pointed out to them, look, don't compare your first video to Jeanette's, because that's probably her 500th video. And I'm thinking, now I must have been on camera well in excess of 1,000 times. You too. I mean, we've gone on camera a lot. So for anybody who hasn't yet been on camera, hasn't done a live or a pre-record or something like that, to look at one of us and sort of go, I won't be that good. Well, A, no, you won't if it's your first time. But B, it's an unfair comparison. It's not a real equivalence at all. It's a false equivalence, because you need to have that level of practice and have that level of having been on camera a number of times to reach, I'm going to say a similar level, but actually it's not about comparison, because some people are just naturally more comfortable on camera. So there are different starting places as well. But it doesn't mean that you're never going to reach a point where you feel comfortable with what you look like on camera. But without going off at a complete tangent, there's a saying, isn't there, that it's a new level, new devil, but there's also new level, same devil, which is, sometimes I will record something and I'll be just quite happily talking it into the camera, and then all of a sudden my brain goes, no, I'm not going to tell you what the next sentence is, and I completely stuff it up.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I'm just there going, I have no idea what I'm talking about. This is a load of rubbish. I mean, honestly, the number of bloopers, if I'd saved them all, of me just going, what are you talking about, Jeanette? You have no clue, into the camera, because I've just frozen, you know, gone blank on what it is. But it is this kind of this idea that there's going to be a magic bullet that can take away all your fears, all your insecurities, all the bits and pieces that are stopping you from doing the thing that you say you want to do. And for me, I think it kind of comes down to just being honest with yourself, and before you click the pay button, is saying, am I going to increase my knowledge with this thing, or am I just putting off something that actually I don't want to do? And if it's putting off something that you don't want to do, you kind of need to examine that in more detail. It's the old, you know, feel the fear and do it anyway thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a strange one, isn't it? Because we're all for you know, developing ourselves, and you know, both of us have done, you know, a huge amount of learning and, you know, invested in development over the years, and are still continuing to do so. So we wouldn't ever advocate that people don't do that, because that is the key to, you know, personal growth and business growth and all that kind of stuff, to be constantly learning. But yeah, I think that's a good point about just before you just be really honest about what is it that, why are you doing it? You know, what do you want to get from this? And as you say, if it's just because you're hoping to just overcome that feeling of not being good enough, and you feel that I can't possibly do. It's like when people go, oh, I can't go and talk to somebody about what I do because I haven't got a website. Like, well, or I can't, you know, I can't possibly pick up the phone and talk to a potential client because, you know, because, you know, my LinkedIn profile's not done, or whatever. It doesn't, and that becomes that's basically an excuse, isn't it? And an excuse for doing the thing that we don't really want to do, which is picking up the phone and talking about that kind of salesy type thing. You know, it's
completely and absolutely, and this is why both of us will say so many times, done is better than perfect, because you have to trick yourself out of this feeling that the next thing to get done is going to make everything all right. You know, it's like getting stuck in this cycle of, you know, once I've got the perfect haircut, or once I've reached the perfect weight, or I know. Don't mention the haircut, Jeanette. I know. This is a sore point. However, for the purposes of illustrating what we're talking about, it's kind of, people put that kind of pin on this thing. When we get to this thing, this is what's going to happen. When I get to that thing, this is what's going to happen. And it's almost like with procrastinating. It's when I've taken this course, I will be able to do that thing. It's like there's nothing, particularly if it's on a subject that you have already learnt about. And I see it with, as I've talked about confidence on camera, I see it with online course creation. Now, I absolutely advocate that people learn from more than one person about online course creation, because each of us has a different slant on how to do things and how to put them together and all the rest of it. But none of it is better than actually doing it yourself. The best training course you can get in how to create an online course is to create an online course. The best training bar none that you can get on that, because then you get the knowledge that works with how your brain works, and then you start to, things fall into place, and you start to understand all this stuff in a way that makes sense to you.
You know, we're doing it ourselves, but, you know, with a complete trainer, aren't we? You know, it's like, it's not perfect, but we're getting it out there. Otherwise, it'd still be in our heads, wouldn't it?
Completely, yeah. Absolutely. We've just got to get stuff out there and then listen to the feedback and adjust as we go along, which, you know, I mean, that's what I love about it as a program anyway, is that we're doing it as a rolling program, which means the next time around it will be slightly different to the first time around, and it will be as a result of those people that have gone through it, and we will adjust and grow and continue to add and subtract and do whatever it is we need to do, none of which we would have been able to do if we'd still been in the planning stages. And, you know, it would have been very easy for for me to say, can't possibly do a delivery module. I can't teach people how to create online courses in an hour and a half. I can't.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I can't teach them something about online course creation. And to a certain extent, I think, and certainly my old NLP trainers, when I was training to be an NLP trainer, they absolutely advocated never giving people all the information. So they were all about give people half of what they need, 3/4 of what they need, and then force them to go and find the missing pieces themselves, because that's a much better way of learning. And even now, I sort of, for me personally, I like to have all the information and then I go back and work out how it all fits together myself. But I can totally see where they were coming from, which was incredibly frustrating as a learner, but you know what? Effective, really effective. And it's one of those things where you think, okay, it's not always the best thing in the world to give people all the information they need. People need to go and sort of hunt bits out themselves and find out for themselves. And that's kind of the point again about, there's no course that is going to be the magic bullet for you. There is no substitute for actually doing the thing yourself and learning about it as you in the process of creation. You learn so much more than sitting and listening or reading something that somebody else has talked about. I think it's all these different stages, isn't it? There's the first stage of taking the course or reading the book or the blog or the webinar or whatever it is, which is sparking your imagination for the possibility of what could be. The second stage, we have to get into that second stage of taking that first step and then taking the second step and then, trying to replicate something ourselves, because otherwise we get stuck in the possibilities and we never produce anything. And you can't sell something that isn't finished.
Exactly.
It's actually, that's kind of not true. You can sell something that isn't finished to begin with, but sooner or later you have to finish it, otherwise you're going to get lots of very angry people demanding their money back, aren't you?
I guess so.
Indeed. So we've got a sort of a point for people is to sort of, just have that split second just before you click on buy. Am I doing this because it's going to enhance my learning, or am I doing it because I actually don't really want to do the thing and I need to understand more about why I don't want to do the thing?
Unless it's one of our courses.
In which case, obviously.
Just press the buy button.
No hypocrites here, honestly. Just buy, because we will enhance your learning, obviously. All right, so shall we move on to the dog walking digest? How's Jem doing?
Well, indeed, Jem is... well, we know this, but I'm just going to say it once again. She's a little madam. She's like, so I've already mentioned that we had a celebration of being in the house for 12 months this weekend. And I decided I would celebrate this by asking whether I could have a night or indeed a couple of nights in my own bed, which I haven't been able to have.
I know, how selfish
I've been on the sofa every night because Jem has to be let out 3 or 4 times a night to go to the loo. So yes, was very excited that I was tramped upstairs from my own bed on Friday night and Saturday night, and anyway, so Saturday morning, I get given my cup of tea early in the morning, and asked the question. I said, so how did it go last night? How many times did you go out? To be met with the word once.
So unfair.
What? That is not fair. No. I don't believe you. Right. Anyway, so then the next night, again, ask the question, to be given the same answer once. And not only was it once, but it was at 5:45.
She's a little madam.
I was disgusted. I was absolutely disgusted. So because, clearly, suffering hadn't been as bad as I have to do.
And that's unfair, right?
It's unfair.
Yeah. Love you, darling, but you need to suffer as much as I do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, so normal service was resumed again last night because I back on the sofa again, having had my little 2-night break, and, out twice again last night. 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock.
Typical. Typical. She's doing it deliberately, you know. Little madam.
Madam. I know.
Testing your patience.
Now, whether it's because like mummy is not as strict as daddy, then that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, we do talk about how my mum is a soft touch and both dogs know it. So, you know, obviously I'm in a support bubble with Mum and John. And I talked about Copper last week. So much better this week after a week on the steroids. Brilliantly better. You know, still on his way, and they reckon it'll take a couple of months for him to get properly back to normal, but way better than he was and much more like his old self. However, in the course of trying to find everything out, when Copper went to the vets, they also found out that he's put on about 4 kilos.
Really?
Which for cockapoo is too much. And you know, Mum is absolutely in denial about, but I don't know how he's put all this weight on. It's because you keep blooming feeding him. That's how. You know, I mean, he gets a Kong full of treats in the, well, I have to put him to bed with that. No, you don't. And it's, you know, when I take Scamp up there, Scamp just has to look at her and she goes, oh, give you a treat like this. And it's like, why? He hasn't done anything. Oh, well, I can't give Copper a treat and not give Scamp a treat. So, yes, you can. It's quite easy. You just give one to your dog and you leave my dog alone. But she uses it as the excuse that it's, you know, well, it's grandma. He's my grand dog. I'm allowed to spoil him. You know, you can sort him out during the week and I'll spoil him at weekends. Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Mum. I get told off at the vets then for him being overweight. But because Copper is overweight, and John and I were laughing about this yesterday, the first thing that Mum says to me when I arrive is, right, no treats for either of them. They're not having any treats because, you know, he's overweight and we're being very strict. No treats, no treats, no. Within the space of half an hour, he'd had a treat. And, and we were laughing at lunchtime yesterday because we'd had Sunday roast and that was very lovely and all the rest of it. And she'd say, no, nothing for the dogs. So normally she'd give them a little bit of meat that's left over, that kind of thing, which is protein. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. No, nothing. Oh, well, yeah. Okay, Copper, you can lick the plate. It's only gravy. And I'm saying, yeah, but it's not only gravy. It's got all the meat fat in there. It's got some butter in there because you've had corn. I didn't put butter in my gravy. No, but it was on the plate where you had your corn on the cob with butter on the top. So there is butter in there. Plus all the other stuff. And you sit there and say, oh, no treats. I don't know how he's putting weight on. That's how he's putting weight on. So John said, to be fair, love, you do tend to break your own rules. I do not. She's going like this. I said, really? The first thing you said to me when we came in the house was no treats for either dog, and my dog had got one from you in the space of half an hour. And she said, oh, well, you know, that doesn't count. Really? Okay. So hilarious. Goodness knows how Copper is going to lose weight. I think they're going to have to get some proper diet food for him, because I mean, you know, all joking aside, 4 kilos is a lot, and even though he has you know, spaniel obviously in him, the cocker part, he's not like a normal spaniel. He doesn't run around everywhere. He doesn't sort of, you know, sniff all over the place. He's just not that into it. You know, he'll sit and play with his ball for ages, but of course in the winter it's not, you can't sit outside and play ball with him, and that kind of thing. So that's going to be fun times trying to get the weight off him.
Well, I think Jem's put 4 kilos on of dog hair.
Yeah, I mean, there's that as well, right?
Literally, and it's awful because, you know, you can see it. I know, like last time when eventually she was shorn like a sheep of all her hair, and she was literally had a new lease of life because carrying all this excess hair around.
Definitely.
How many months, you know, so looking forward to that when it eventually happens.
Oh yeah, you'll get there. I had to take some dry shampoo up for Mum. I still didn't get to the bottom of why she can't just put him in the bath and give him a proper wash with dog shampoo. But anyway, she had to have some dry shampoo, which was supposed to make him smell like blueberry muffin. So it's, you know, spray it in and then towel it off, that kind of thing. It's like, no, now he smells like fake blueberry muffin with undertones of smelly dog underneath. Anyway, but yeah, I remember I've only ever had short hair once in my life when I was about 11, something like that, and I went from really long to really short. And I remember how light my head felt just walking out of the hairdresser. So I can absolutely imagine what Jem feels like when she gets shorn of all the hair. So it's just like, God, it must feel amazing. Really weird. Really weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, any more for any more?
No, I think we're done for this week.
I think we are.
Thank you for listening, everybody.
Definitely.
And we look forward to seeing you again next week. And have a good one.
Have a good one.
Then.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.